Well, hi guys, welcome once again to Fisher Rob and the Novice Angler channel. We're just going to do a simple recap on a single hair rig setup today. I've already done the recording for this, so I shall cut it in just a moment, but I had it mixed in with method feeders and things like that, and it went on to about 35-40 minutes, so a bit long for people. So I'll just cut through into the hair rig setup and onto a typical hair rig. Well, first of all, you need some line. So we'll get ourselves some of our lovely Gardner GTHD line. It's a cracking little line, this one's only about 12 pounder, but it's a lovely little line, sinks like a brick, little or no memory on it, so when you're actually leaving this on reels for a while and then you come back to using that reel again on the riverside or wherever you're fishing, you'll find that you don't get swirls and swirls and swirls of lines tangling up, etc., because that reel hasn't been used for a few weeks, and instead you'll find that all you'll have is quite a sort of a little loop effect, just slowly between each eye of the fishing rod. It won't be all coiled up and absolutely horrendously knotty. Go up to about 18 pounds, I think, but 10 or 12 pound line is ample for general fishing with, say, a 15 or 20 pound leader to the hook. So right, so get yourself a length of line. And the first things first is to make yourself a loop. So what I tend to do is literally just fold it back on itself. That's a point, I wonder. Yeah, I might be able to. Here's a little crafty trick. So you have to slide up some of this and then get all my bits and bobs on a bit of bright yellow card. You might find it easier to see. So on the camera. So make yourself a loop. Simple overhand loop. Do that. Tuck it round inside and through. You can either do like I do, sometimes wiggle it through, or be a bit crafty, try and nibble it and bite it through. You'll find that the loop you've made is a little bit too big. I must admit, I like quite small loops on my hair rig, so just push the loop back a little bit and then tighten the lines up a little bit. Main line and the spare little offshoot of line, push it back again. Try and hold the loops if you can, the loops that you're actually tightening up as well, if you can, try and hold those, and then gently just pull it and let it tighten under your finger very slowly. Check on that. Yeah, that will do. So then a good old tug, make sure that knot is nice and tight. You can use a hook puller, etc., through the loop if you want, and give it a good old tighten. Yeah, that's lovely. Now, any hook, link or loop, etc., if you make a good knot, you shouldn't need to leave tons and tons and tons of spare offcut. So what I tend to do is get out the old Corda scissors, nice reliable pair of scissors. Do think about Corda scissors if you want to get some and pop them in your bait box. Very, very sharp, very, very good quality. Do like the Corda scissors. So yes, so there we have your little hair on the end of the line. Then get yourself a piece of silica, quite narrow gauge silica, and cut off a section. You can see a tiny piece there, or you might be able to, oops, just about see that in my hand. Little piece of silica, and you slide that on the line. The big thing about popping that little bit of silica on is so that when you pop your hook on, that you can adjust the length of the hair that's going to be your hair on the hook. If you do sort of tie it on straight away, sometimes you find the hair's a little bit long or a little bit too short. When you get all your baits on it and things, can be a bit of a pain. So this is a good way of actually leaving that adjustment there when you get the hook set against the hair length. A little bit about hooks as well. If you're going to spend any money on your carp system, good quality hooks, no question about that. Corda wide gape, these are number 6, very, very nice hooks, and you'll notice with these they come with a little green cap on the tip of the hook. Now that is there for two reasons. One, basically to stop the tip of the hook getting any problems with it banging against something or being damaged, and two, to protect you. These hooks are razor sharp. Now a lot of hooks you'll find aren't that sharp when they even come out the box, as it were. Corda have excelled themselves. This is a cracking range of hooks. Wide gape, mugger, choddy, all this sort of stuff. Corda hooks are very, very good quality hooks. Solid wire, very, very positive for the hooking of the fish. But they're also razor sharp, hence those little green caps. A lot of fishing shops will sell you hook sharpening systems that you can use to sharpen hooks, along with almost like a little jeweler's eye piece to examine the tip of the hook and to make sure it's really sharp. With Corda you just don't have to worry about that. You just buy the packet hooks, take it out, fit it on, and it's ready to go. So very, very good quality hooks. So yes, with the line we've now got this little piece of silica close to the hair, and what I tend to do is just sort of just bend it around the finger a little bit, and then very easily, and do be careful because you've taken the guard off the hook now, is to actually try and get that hook tip through that little hole alongside your line. There you go, just in there. So we slide that onto the tip of the hook. I tend to sort of turn it a little bit as it goes, and then turn it back again. Just makes it slide on that little bit easier. Now I tend to push it on with the back of my nail, and then when that point comes out it doesn't go straight into your finger. Once you feel the point on your nail, hold it by the shank, finger on the curve of the hook, and just use the top of your nail just to slide that silica up and onto the hook itself. There you go. So we can do that now, and by positioning that where you want on the hook shank, you can now adjust the length of that hair to where you're happy. So you might take your bait, for instance, hold it against that and think, okay, most of that's going to be in there, a little bit over the top. That is just about right, just a hair's breadth above the actual hook itself. And if you want to bring it tighter, you do is just pull on the hair or slide the hook up nearer to your bait. That silica gives you that little bit of adjustment if you want, and it then is ready. So we've got that about right. So then you hold that nice and tightly on the shank of the hook, and we're going to basically go around the hook shank like that. But first things first, we're actually going to first of all put the end of the line, the main line, will be your hook link, down through the eye, and pull that nice and tight. And you should have the hair line running down the back of the hook, because you come in from the back of the hook towards the point. Okay, this creates an angle, you might be able to see that on the yellow there, and that angle will increase the chance of the fish lip being in that gap when the hook turns and bites into the bottom lip or the side of the mouth, and that angle is very important with the back of the shank. So always go from the back of the hook towards the point. So that's that through, and you know you've got that at the right length for the hair. Hold that, and we start whipping down the shank, as we call it. Now always go from the curved bit of the metal of the hook. Don't go at the end of the wire, because you could find some sharp edges there, and that could end up cutting through the hook itself, link line. So always take it from the curved bit of metal, not the end of the wire. And I go down there about 6 or 7 turns. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so put your other finger onto that shaft to hold all those coils in place, otherwise it'll all just spring off. And then once again we feed the line down through the eye from the back to the front, and this creates what they call a knotless knot, and then we pull that nice and tight. Now in the old days it used to have to do with that, and you could end up with a hook in your finger trying to pull on a hook and it slips. Nowadays, again, another promotional thing for Corda, they do a cracking little hook puller here, ergonomic, it's well balanced, it sits nice and comfortably in the hand, and it's got a very positive little angled hook on the puller, which means that the hook itself doesn't slip. You can use that and really pull against your hook length line to make sure all your knots are absolutely tight and they're not going to slip. So lovely, that's job done. We've got the hair, we've got the hook, and we've got the silica in place, and we've got the knotless knot, so that is secured. Now you could leave that as it is quite happily. It's got a good angle on it, one other thing though that I tend to like to do, well, you've got two choices. I'll show you the other thing. I'll show you both. Oops, reach around the camera down to my little bait box. You can use this sort of stuff. This is a piece of tubing, it's called shrink tube, and you can literally just cut off a length, slide it down the line over the eye of the hook, and then under some steam with your kettle, put that over the top of that, and it'll shrink down and make a nice tight fitting to the back of the hook. And then whilst it's still warm, you can heat it again under some steam, and then hold it at an angle, and then as it cools it will then, you know, basically have the angle that you want that the line has here, for instance. Or you can save yourself using the old steam of your local kettle, or having a kettle on the riverbank or whatever. You can use something known as a kicker. Little sleeve already at a good angle. That's how they're moulded. All you do is just feed that onto the line. It's another thing, as if it works first time. Oh, look at that. Straight on. Slide it down the line. And one end of the kicker is slightly wider than the other. So you can hopefully keep your line fairly tight and give it a little bit of a wiggle. And it should go over the top of the eye. Like so. So that goes right over the top there. Make sure that line's still tight. Push that over. And there you have a purpose-built kicker actually on the line. And there she is. So once the fish actually takes that and they try to spit it out, it immediately turns and digs in. So as they try and push it off, it'll just turn and dig in. Same for that side. As it comes to the edge, it's just, there you go, it flipped itself over there. I didn't even have to turn the line. Just turn and dig in. So very, very good little system. Simple hair rig with a kicker, and that presets everything at the right angle, and then you're ready to put your bait on. So I'll use a pink one. So you get your baiting needles, various types. Let's have a little look here. Another little plug here for Gardner. Gardner do a sleeved bait needle, and very, very good indeed. I do like these ones. They're a lot easier. I mean, you've got a very good baiting needle here, to be honest, but it's all just wide open, and you know, I don't know, maybe just catch your finger occasionally on that one. Whereas this one is very, you know, sensitive and safety conscious. So nice one, really designed for boilies with a round tip cup there at the end. But I'm still crafty. I still pop it into these pieces of corn, or fake corn, I should say. So give it a little wiggle just till you feel it starting to prick your finger at the other end, and then you can push that out, and away we go. And it's in there nice and tightly. So then when you're ready, you can pop your loop of your hair over that hook and then pull back, and it will actually slide it through the bait yourself like that. The next time you come out, it's literally at the top there, so you can pull a little bit more out maybe, and then take your hook out. Job done. You have your bait on. Now we need to do is secure it. Now you can use different coloured bits and bobs for that, but I've even seen people use a blade of grass on the side of the river when they've been making up hairs. I will use a little bait hook, which bait tie that comes with the baits in a pack, and it's a fiddly little thing, but you can do it. So there we go, he's in there. Now I've just got to turn him around so I'm pulling correctly the right way up, And the thing about these little butterflies is that you can stand them up and they'll go back in the little hole where you put the needle, like so, and you can make a nice tight fitting to that, line him up, and there you have your bait attached to your hook via the hair. And the bait also plays a part, so if you put your hand fairly flat and you try and pull that off, see how immediately that hook's starting to lift and turn, and that will already start to be biting into the fish lip. And again on the other side, as you're pulling it like that, the fish will turn, and there you go, that's got it perfectly positioned. So the bait actually plays a part as well, so do think about where you're actually having it fitted, and the length of the hair. That all plays a part when you're actually setting up a hair rig. Yes, there's that. What did I just say I was going to show? Oh yes, some bait floss, bear with me. And down here we have a cracking extra strong bait floss by Corda, 50 meters in a roll for that. I think that's about £8 or £9, but very, very good quality bait floss. People sometimes call it the old tooth floss, but you can just make a loop of that and then feed it through that loop up through your bait of your choice, and then literally tie it off and burn it back, and then tap it, and you get a little bubble of bait floss on the upper side of your fake bait or boilie, and then that's securely fitted to your hook. So you can use Corda bait floss as well. Another cracking product from the Corda range. Now, to finalise, you need to have this then attachable to your main line. So you take your swivel, pop that onto the main line, like so. Slide that down to wherever you need it. I've got a bit long a piece of this, so bear with me, because I usually only have a short length for my method feeder hook links. But so you tuck that into your hand and make yourself a big loop. Okay, so you've got a nice sized loop there. Just shrink that down a little bit, pull that up a little bit, so you're conscious of just the length of your hair link through your hand down to the hook. So do that. Now, the key thing with this is you've got to try and keep that little swivel tucked away, but the line that it's on comes the other side, if you like, the back side of the loop you've just made. So you've just created a loop with your main line, goes off to your reel, main line this side on the front edge, and then the line that goes down to your hook, which has your swivel on, goes on the back side of that loop. Okay, and then the main line hook link cut off will now go round both pieces of that line, so the top of the loop and the hook link at the back of that loop. Okay, so we'll go round and through that loop about 5 times. This is what is commonly known as a grinner knot. It's a very, very strong knot, and the big thing about grinner knots, because they're wound round the main line, that will generate friction when you tighten it up. So keep it moist. So you give it a little bit of goober, and by licking that, you gently pull on your swivel, and you gently pull on the upper bit of the line, not your hook length line, but the upper bit, and very slowly slide it up so it's sort of good 2/3 knotted, and then hold the hook line and slide it, you may see it about there, slowly sliding down towards the swivel, and do it slowly, don't go bonkers. The amount of people that I see tighten a knot up really, really quickly, and don't forget, keep giving it a little lick, and so it can slide nicely without causing friction. And that's your big problem, when they slide knots up really, really quickly, it can tighten the knot so quickly it generates a lot of friction, and can cause problems with your line. You think you're tightening on a nice 15-pound hook link, and you're not. You're actually dropping it down to about 10 pound, because of the friction generated undermines the strength of the line. So keep it wetted down, slowly slide it into place, and that grinner knot is now complete. Shouldn't have to worry about the length of line that you leave as an offcut, because a grinner knot again shouldn't slide if it's done properly. So I usually cut it down fairly close, just a little tab left. Then there you have it. You have one hair rig set up, the bait on the hook link, and the swivel at the other end. I'll put that on there, you might see it clearer on that, with a grinner knot on the top. Some people also put a little bit of the shrink tubing at this end, go and steam it, and that keeps it all trimmed down. Or you have the options, you can either use the lovely dark matter putty by Corda, or the gardener's putty. I've got a bit of gardener's today, gardener's putty. You can take that out, just take a small piece of that out, roll it all up, get it nice and warm in your finger and thumb, and then wrap it round just underneath that swivel. If you are worried about lines spooking fish, then Corda do a cracking range of sinkers. Basically, where that line leaves your method feeder, and that's the bit of bait that's sitting popped up, or either on the riverbed or lakeside, or if you put a little bit of sinker onto that before you tie on your swivel, then that will keep that line down nice and firm. One, it can shorten the pop up. Two, that will keep line from basically creating a big loop like that. The fish come along looking for your bait, hit the line, get spooked and leave. So you don't want that to happen. So you can either put a little bit of that putty that I just showed you, or you can put one of these little sinker leads on. You just feed your line through, slide that up onto the line, feed the line back out again, put those ones away, and that little sinker will then stay on your line, and that keeps that line pinned to the bottom. So that keeps your fish out the line out the way of the fish, and leaves them hopefully to go after your hair rig. So loads of different types of rigs out there: Ronnie rig, D rigs, all manner KD rigs, loads of different things. So do have a look on YouTube, have a little hunt out, see what's out there. But hopefully you've enjoyed a little bit of information and building your own hair rigs. Thanks for watching.